I'm Angelica, 26 years old. I recently got married to my husband Mark, who is the same age as me, through a friend's introduction. His family runs a long-established Japanese confectionery shop. My husband, who was raised with love but strictness by his father, the shop owner, and his mother, the female proprietor, diligently trains as a traditional confectionery artisan to succeed the shop as the eldest son. When we got married, my husband asked me to work at the shop as a young female proprietor. Since I had previously worked at a well-known department store after graduating from university, I had a good understanding of general etiquette and manners, and I had confidence in customer service. So I readily agreed to Mark's request. And so, I married into the long-established Japanese confectionery shop and started living in the large house next to the shop, cohabitating with my parents-in-law. My father-in-law is a quiet and dignified person who works from morning till night, and his imposing presence makes it difficult to approach him casually. My mother-in-law is a cheerful and elegant female proprietor who is well known in the local community and is beloved by regular customers and employees working at the shop. When I joined this family, she warmly welcomed me and taught me the job with care. However, around 3 months after getting married, my mother-in-law's attitude gradually started to change. Angelica, a regular customer who came today, was praising you. They said you are beautiful and have grace. Oh, really? But I'm glad. Since I married into this family, I can't let down the face of the long-established shop. Though modest, I was very happy. I aspired to become like my mother-in-law, standing at the shop and protecting this traditional establishment together with Mark. I held respect and admiration for my mother-in-law, who supported the shop as the female proprietor. Seriously, you learn quickly, and when you're at the shop, you bring a certain charm. You're already the face of the shop, aren't you? Maybe it's time for a change of female proprietors? The employees said with a laugh, and then, from behind, "Hey! What are you chatting about?" My mother-in-law's angry voice echoed. "Angelica, if you have time to chat, you should study more. Newcomers like you don't have time for breaks." I am sorry. After seeing off my displeased mother-in-law as she walked away, one of the employees whispered to me, "I think the female proprietor is probably jealous because you're so talented. You see, it's frustrating for her to see many customers coming to meet you." Upon hearing that, I felt a mix of emotions and an odd sense of unease. I couldn't just stand still, so I hurried back to work. The next day, when I arrived at work, I greeted one of the employees. "Good morning, let's have a good day today." There was no response. I didn't think much of it, assuming they didn't hear me. I greeted the other employees as usual. However, none of them made eye contact with me, and it was clear that something was off. The way everyone was avoiding me made me wonder, what's going on? We were talking normally yesterday. Did I do something wrong? With that thought in mind, I couldn't hide my agitation. Just then, my mother-in-law appeared. "Try tasting the new Japanese confectionery." And then, "Yes, female proprietor." In a soft voice, everyone flocked to my mother-in-law. I stood at the storefront, feeling a sense of unease from that scene, but I greeted the customers with a smile. The next day, and the day after that, everyone's attitude remained unchanged. Contrary to their indifferent behavior towards me, they began fawning over my mother-in-law, and I couldn't understand why. It left me bewildered and with a strong sense of exclusion. Amidst all this, I discovered that I was pregnant. My husband shed tears of joy when he found out. When I informed my mother-in-law about the pregnancy. "Oh, really? Well, make sure you continue to work diligently," she responded with cold words. 2 weeks later, morning sickness started, and I couldn't stand due to nausea, rushing to the restroom. However, every time I did, my mother-in-law would say, "You're not sick, so hurry up and come out to work." She would dismissively say those words, never allowing me to take a break. Seeing me pale-faced and struggling to stand, the employees whispered to each other, "She looks terrible. It's damaging the shop's reputation. I wish she would quit." They whispered quietly. Quietly, I returned to my room and let out a deep sigh. I managed to handle my work, and as my morning sickness subsided, it was time for a prenatal checkup where the doctor revealed the baby's gender. "It's a girl." How exciting! I immediately informed my husband, and he happily exclaimed, "I hope she takes after Angelica, becoming a beautiful and well-mannered girl. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it." He smiled with joy. That night, my husband and father-in-law were working late in the workshop. As I finished eating and found myself alone in the living room with my mother-in-law, I decided to share the news of the baby's gender with her. "The baby is a girl. She's growing well," I calmly informed my mother-in-law. However, her face turned red instantly, and she glared at me while shouting, "A girl? Are you kidding me? You useless woman." I couldn't find any words to respond to her sudden outburst, and my body trembled. She continued, "By marrying into this family, it means you have a responsibility to raise a successor for the shop. Try to be a little less stupid." My mind went blank. It was my beloved child, and the baby's gender didn't matter to me. All I wanted was for the baby to be born healthy. However, it wasn't the same for my mother-in-law. According to her, I could only fulfill a significant role as a daughter-in-law if I gave birth to a boy. It was too much to bear. Would I continue to hear these words until I give birth to a boy? The shock of having my first child rejected paralyzed me, and I couldn't move. "You know, since you came here as a daughter-in-law, you've been getting a bit too full of yourself. Do you understand your position?" While saying this, my mother-in-law let out a deep sigh, and I couldn't say anything in return. I clenched my lips tightly. Then I heard the sound of the front door opening. "I'm home." "Oh, what are you two doing together?" As my husband and father-in-law entered the living room, they looked at us curiously and asked, "Oh, we just finished eating." But my mother-in-law interrupted me, speaking in an excited voice and uttering unbelievable words. "I just heard it, but the baby in her belly is a girl. I'm looking forward to it." I hope she grows up to be a beautiful and well-mannered girl like Angelica. I said the same thing to Angelica today. As my mother-in-law and husband talked, they laughed together. Witnessing that scene, I was left speechless and could only manage a forced smile. My father-in-law seemed to scrutinize the situation for a moment, then without saying anything, he went back to his own room. Unable to contain my indescribable sadness, I hurried to my room and cried alone, muffling my sobs. As my due date approached, it was obvious that I couldn't continue working at the shop with my large belly. My mother-in-law suggested that I handle administrative tasks from home. One day, when I working, ding dong. I rushed to answer it and found delivery men carrying several large boxes. All of them were addressed to me. I couldn't remember buying anything, so I nervously opened the boxes. Inside, I found a baby crib, stroller, bouncer, baby carrier, and other essential items for after the birth. I and Mark had been discussing the need to buy these things, but they hadn't had the chance to go shopping yet. Did he order them online for me? I wondered, but regardless, she was filled with joy and couldn't wait for the birth. In the evening, my mother-in-law returned home. "Oh, they've already arrived." Surprised by her words, I hurriedly asked her, Did you buy all of these for me?" "I ordered them for you since you two do nothing. Be grateful." Without looking into my eyes, my mother-in-law said in a stern tone, but I was still happy. Maybe her mother-in-law's earlier strictness about having a girl was just a lie. Perhaps deep down, she was also looking forward to the birth of her first grandchild. I brightly and loudly thanked her. "Thank you very much, mother-in-law. Please look forward to the birth of a healthy child." While giving a deep bow, I noticed her looking at her from the side with a faint smile, then she returned to her room. Finally, the day of the birth arrived. I experienced labor pains in the middle of the night, and with my husband by my side, we headed to the hospital. The next day, around noon, a lively baby girl was born. Holding her small, crying, soft, and warm child in her arms, tears of joy streamed down my face. My husband also shed tears of happiness. "Angelica, thank you. Let's raise her with care." He hugged me, who was holding their newborn child. Just then, Angelica's mother-in-law and father-in-law entered the hospital room together. "I closed the shop today. Here, this is for you." Saying so, she handed me an envelope. I hurriedly put the newborn baby back in the bed. "Thank you so much." What is this?" Puzzled, I asked my mother-in-law about the envelope. "It's a congratulatory gift for the birth." "Take it," her mother-in-law said. "Hope you have $2,000, she added. Upon hearing this, my husband looked surprised. "That much? Is it okay, Mom?" "Thank you." My mother-in-law laughed and nodded. However, I felt something was off about the envelope. I gently opened it, and her face turned red with anger. I crumpled the envelope tightly and threw it into the trash bin with all her strength. Upon seeing that, my husband was speechless. "What are you doing? What's wrong all of a sudden?" he said, visibly disturbed, and picked up the envelope. "What is this?" When I said that, Mark looked inside the envelope. "Ha, an invoice?" The contents of the envelope were bills for the baby crib, bouncer, and other baby items that my mother-in-law had ordered. Her mother-in-law laughed and said, without remorse, "I only said I ordered them. I never said I bought them for you. Since it's your own child, buy the necessary things yourself." With a proud expression, my mother-in-law looked at me. I had reached my limit. They had planned to buy these baby items themselves from the beginning. I didn't mind paying for them. However, my mother-in-law's attempts to provoke Mr. and the fact that she couldn't even receive a welcome for my child's birth infuriated me. My anger boiled inside. Enough is enough. As I looked down, my lips trembling, about to voice my feelings, my father-in-law intervened. "Hey, that's enough." I raised my head at his voice. There, I saw my father-in-law glaring at my mother-in-law with sharp eyes. My mother-in-law was taken aback by his words. "W what?" I was just teasing a little. We're always joking around like this, right? As my mother-in-law spoke and looked at me, her eyes were filled with both anxiety and a mix of anger and hatred. I quickly averted my gaze. "Did you think I didn't know how you always treat her? How you deceived even the employees to be on your side and bullied her throughout the entire store?" My mother-in-law remained silent, looking down with wavering eyes. I furrowed my brow and asked, "What do you mean by deceiving the employees?" My father-in-law turned towards me and began speaking with a serious expression. When I heard that the employees were bad-mouthing her behind her back after she couldn't work in her final month of pregnancy, I scolded them. Then they cried and said this: "Angelica goes home and complains that she's competent while the employees are useless. They're having trouble because she doesn't change even when the landlady warns her." Everything they told me was based on what the landlady said. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. So that's why everyone suddenly started treating me coldly, I said with a trembling voice, glaring at my mother-in-law, who was looking down. "Of course, I know that you would never say such things. Because..." My father-in-law looked at me with gentle eyes. "You care about the store more than anyone else. You care about the employees and the customers, and you provide them with loving service. The fact that so many customers come to the store is proof of that. On the other hand..." Father-in-law glared at my mother-in-law again, and she flinched and shrunk. "On the other hand, you bullying your hardworking wife, spreading false information to the employees, poisoning the atmosphere of the store. What the hell are you doing? Aren't you ashamed?" With tears in her eyes, my mother-in-law retorted, "What? I was just teaching her the strictness of being a daughter-in-law and a young landlady. I've been taught the same way. This world isn't sweet, you know. I haven't done anything wrong." Defiantly, my mother-in-law replied. I looked straight into my mother-in-law's eyes. "I understand that this world isn't easy and the hardships of becoming a landlady. But I am not a tool for producing an heir. If you're going to deny my precious child just because she's a girl, I will leave this house. With determination, I declared, and my mother-in-law smirked. How audacious! Who are you talking to like that? If you want to leave, go ahead and leave. With a composed expression, she spat out those words, and my father-in-law raised his voice again. Are you still saying such things? It's you who should leave. Starting next week, you'll work and live in another branch. Angelica and the grandchild are off limits to you. My mother-in-law, who was told this by my father-in-law with a fierce tone, widened her eyes and trembled in panic. And no, in such a countryside. I refuse. Please, forgive me. Saying that, she grabbed my father-in-law's arm. When my father-in-law forcefully shook off her hand, my mother-in-law collapsed on the spot. Then, my father-in-law looked at my husband and said, Mark, you too. It's good to be diligent in your studies, but broaden your horizons. Figure out what's truly important before it's too late. Upon hearing those words, my husband said, Yeah. I'm sorry, Angelica. I should have realized. He said that with a saddened expression, looking at me. My father-in-law gently stroked the cheek of our sleeping child. May I hold her? I nodded vigorously. My father-in-law gently lifted our child and said, Thank you, Angelica. She's our treasure. Thank you so much. Seeing my father-in-law's eyes welling up, all the frustration and sadness I had held back until now overflowed. My husband gently rubbed my back without saying a word, while my stepmother slumped to the floor, silent and looking down. 1 week later, I returned home. Our daughter was named Sherry, and we started a new life together with our child. My mother-in-law was immediately transferred to a store outside the prefecture and worked there as a live-in employee. However, she frequently called, saying, Hey, please. Just let me come back for a little while. I haven't even held my first grandchild yet. Please, at least send me a photo. Please. Although I felt a little sympathy for my mother-in-law pleading in a tearful voice, I remained silent and hung up the phone as I was instructed not to have any contact with her by my father-in-law. After finishing preparing dinner at home, my father-in-law swiftly returned. And he went straight to our daughter. Sherry, I'm home. It's Grandpa. I'm back. Saying that, he lowered the corners of his eyes and remained stuck to the bed. Witnessing this unexpected side of my taciturn father-in-law, I couldn't help but smile. Hello, I'm intruding. The employees, who had finished their work, arrived and said, Angelica, we're truly sorry. The employees apologized to me with teary eyes. According to the employees, they tearfully informed me that I had been expressing dissatisfaction and speaking ill of them and the landlady at home, and I had been acting with a haughty attitude. Out of anger and sympathy for the landlady, they began ignoring me. I smiled at the employees, who were looking down. It's all right now. More importantly, I'm sorry for leaving everything to you at the store. Please don't worry about it. You just gave birth, so please take your time to rest. Mark is managing the store, and we'll do anything we can to help. Relieved by their reliable words, I felt a weight lift off my chest. Just then, my husband returned home. I'm back. Oh, everyone's here. Although my husband still led a busy life, he was supportive in childcare and doted on our daughter just like my father-in-law. Hey, Dad, can you give Sherry some space? I've only been able to see her sleeping face today. I want to hold Sherry too. Me too. Wait a moment, it's only been 10 minutes. Seeing everyone flocking around our daughter, my heart was at ease, and a smile involuntarily formed on my face. I made up my mind to protect my precious family, companions, and the store firmly from now on. With that determination in my heart, I slowly approached everyone and gently smiled while looking at my daughter's face.